This podcast is sponsored by Intentional Living magazine, your ultimate guide created to help infuse purpose and passion into your everyday life. From expert features that provide valuable insights to thought-provoking content that sparks transformation. This magazine and online platform is a perfect source of inspiration for those who truly believe in the power of intentional choices.
So, we've kept this a secret.
But
Here we are.
Yeah.
In the studio for our first ever podcast of
Can We Just?
From us, Space and Freedom.
Brought to you by Intentional Living magazine. Transatlantic, by the way. And we are here to introduce our first episode, which is an introduction to ourselves, our lives, and the work that we do, to see whether you would like to like and subscribe and follow the rest of our interesting, insightful, and very honest conversations.
They are very honest. So buckle up because you're in for a fabulous ride.
Grab a cuppa and then get your headphones on. Hello.
Hello, you.
Can we just get comfy?
We can just get comfy, yeah, absolutely. I'm dead comfy.
Good, I'm glad. That's because our lovely Jacob at Liverpool Podcast Studios looked after us on our first episode of our new podcast, Can We Just? So I wanted to ask the question, can we just introduce ourselves?
Which is tricky. I can do the name bit, but we talked about this on the way here, didn't we?
Yeah.
And so you asking me?
Yeah.
Okay. So my name's Jules, and that really is the only label I need. But society expects us to have so many different labels. So what can I tell you? My name's Jules Kelly.
Fair, let's go back. Let me ask you the question. Who is Jules Kelly? And give the listeners an idea of who you are, where you come from, what you love, what you don't love, and I'd love you to tell them about your journey of how we came to be together as our business, Space and Freedom, in your own time.
Thank you very much. Okay, so who's Jules Kelly? Jules Kelly is a 53-year-old, I was going to say woman. I don't feel like a woman. I still feel like a girl, but 53-year-old woman, originally born in Germany, didn't speak English until I was 6 when I went to school. And I'm now a mum of 2 incredible kids who are not kids anymore. One's 22, one's 17. And I am the wife of my very own social hand grenade. And he's been sent to me. Yeah, Marcus, he's been sent to me to learn. God
and
love
you
him.
to learn from
and
him.
for me to learn from him, absolutely. And yeah, so I've worked in my corporate lifestyle for about what feels like a million years, and I got on society's hamster wheel, I guess, straight from the start. So when I went into school at 6 without speaking English.
Let's just go back to that, because I know that you came to the UK when you were 6 and you were speaking German. Yeah. What do you remember from that? And how did that affect you for further on in life? Or did it, how did it impact you?
Do you know, I've not really thought about it in that way
for
a long time. But no, I'm happy to go there. I've got certain memories and reflections that come up from that. And I feel that probably what it taught me is what I was trying to fit into a world that didn't really understand me. So I was trying to become what was expected of me. And then I remember this one time where I was having a lovely time drawing with wax crayons in a book. And then the teacher said, come and sit on the carpet. I didn't want to sit on the carpet. I wanted to carry on drawing because someone had said, oh, that's a really good picture. And that feeling of being told that something was really good was like amazing. She thinks I'm really good at drawing with my wax crayons. And then you want to take me away from that to sit on the carpet. And I got in a right old state. And then I drew scribbled like that on every page. Yeah. And I was in tears, but obviously I couldn't articulate myself at the time. So yeah. And I guess that was the start of really the conditioning of,
Okay.
if you think about, right, well, you do what you're told to do when you're told to do it. And I guess there's times and places for that, but that was a very
vivid memory.
A vivid memory of that. And then I worked, I always knew I wanted to work. I always knew I didn't really want to go to university. Mm-hmm. I wanted to be independent. I wanted to do all of the things. So I went to work at Manchester Airport for the best part of 10 years. I worked my way through that in passenger services. And then I decided that I wanted to do something different because my life was taken over with shift work, which is great. It was such a fabulous experience, and it taught me so much about humans and the different types of characters and emotions and literally the broad spectrum of human life and the extremes of it, because travel can be a really stressful play. I mean, we've talked about this before, where your husband, Mark, turns into some freak at the airport where he starts panicking about
to go through
stuff.
security.
Security's like, oh,
yeah.
You know?
And then he's like a different person once we're through security. Let's go for a drink. We're on our holidays now. And I'm like, you've just nearly killed everyone in the queue.
Exactly that.
Yeah.
So you've got that on a massive scale. Yeah. So the behaviours there, and again, learning my capabilities. So when you've told an aircraft load of 330 people that their flight's cancelled, the first time you do that is, can you imagine the adrenaline and the fear in that, and then vocalising it and the onslaught that comes from that. But when you've done it like 50 times, it kind of becomes the norm. So there's a lot of learning in confidence.
Yeah.
But I guess that confidence comes with a label, because the label is the role that you're playing. Mm-hmm. And I think that is really important in terms of, as we go through life, that we take on these labels.
Yeah.
And so that label then moved into so the working label, the salesperson, and again, I was always striving. And this I know comes from early trauma in as much as not feeling good enough. Mm-hmm. So I had got that belief that I wasn't good enough. So that drove another kind of behaviour, which was to prove that I was good enough. So then when I went into the world of sales for my employers, that was bloody great.
Because you were there championing it.
I'm not going to be mediocre at this. I'm going to bloody nail it. And nail it, I did. Yeah. And so within the first 12 months of working in field sales, I won awards, I did all the things. And that came with recognition and validation, again, that obviously I needed and I thrived on, because I hadn't had that when that first trauma occurred at about age 3. This is all stuff that I've learned since.
Yeah.
Right. So the actual reasoning I've learned since. And then the corporate stuff, I was just really good at it, you know. I was really, really good at it. And if I believe in something, then I can share that message. So I went from that, and I went from sales, and I had my own businesses, and I worked for large multinational organizations, and I also worked with small startups. And I also started my own little businesses, so little sidelines and side hustles to satisfy my creative side, because there's a lot of creativity in there, even though I work in the masculine a lot, and you know this, so I get shit done.
Yeah.
And if I'm on a mission, I literally get shit done, and I do the do. And that's the masculine. So my learning and my expansion that we're going through all of the time, and we talk about all the time, is for me to lean more into the feminine, to the receiving energy. And then in 2017, I had a full breakdown, and that came after probably about 3 years of real stress from 2014 onwards. And it was a time where I was working on taking a business from being on really shaky ground to bringing it to solid investable status. And that meant literally taking the rug up on the business. And the extra challenge was it was my husband's business. So I became the person that was there to disrupt, but to disrupt from a place of wanting improvement.
Absolutely. Yeah, wanting to expand, the company to grow.
And survive.
Because you dig up the shit. We don't do surface level shit, which is what we say.
Yeah, completely.
So obviously this is what our first episode, and we might go off on one, but this is just to get a real insight into Jules and my relationship, which you'll find out as the episodes go on. But you do go in, you uncover stuff, and you see what needs to be done. So that's one of Jules' superpowers, because we'll always talk about our superpowers, as well as our not so superpowers. We all have superpowers. So yeah, as the person who is seen as the person, a lot of people see you as the person to go to with the save the day energy. So was this one of the things that I'd like you to go back to those 3 years and talk about what specific things that you feel led you to that breakdown? So your husband's business.
That's easy. I think that's easy. So first of all, going back in 2006, I had my daughter Gracie, which is great. Went out one night a few months later and I had a near miss car accident, and where a lorry literally tipped up on top of the car bonnet of the car while I was at a roundabout, and I literally braced for impact. And then once I realised that I was all right, and I thought, oh, that was it, I'm unscathed, go and buy a lottery ticket, I'm winning. That was the start of any trapped trauma and emotion that was held in my body. Didn't know this then, by the way. This is what
you've learned.
I've discovered since. Flooded my body, and it manifested as pain. And so in 2006, that's when the symptoms of fibromyalgia started. And fibromyalgia, for anyone that doesn't know, is it's a musculoskeletal pain syndrome that they're still looking for a cause for it. I believe I know what the cause is. Scientifically, it's yet to be discovered or finalised, I guess.
It's in the process.
Yeah. Anyway, so my body was telling me for all those years, it was talking to me in the form of pain. The language was pain. And I just medicated. I went to the doctors and said, I've got pain here. And the pain was all over. So it presented at all different times. So I was going through all of this, being fully medicated, really heavy duty opiates, and then having to go to work, obviously, because we've got mortgages and we've got children to feed and roofs to keep over our head. And so when Mark's business needed the support, and the universe sent me redundancy from my last role, so it was perfect timing. But there was the drive. We'd invested everything into that business. So not only did I want it to succeed, it had to succeed. So it meant that I had to go through every single part of that business, and project management is one of the things that I do. And again, as you said, seeing through the chaos, seeing through the noise of what's going on, being a one energy in human design, which we'll talk about again, is that I have a real need, if I'm lit up by something, to understand it properly. So again, no surface level, I go in deep. So I want to know how, where, why, when. And I literally dismantled every part. And that is a real skill set. Then you've got the emotion and the perspective of all the other people around you as well. So not being the flavour of the month is also a really tricky place to be, especially as a personable person that has strived all their life to fit in and to be liked and to be needed and to be wanted, to then be the nemesis of that in as nice a way as possible to help them keep their jobs, help them have the business survive. Anyway, cut a very long story short, there was lots of stuff that happened. And in 2017, I literally hit burnout. And to the point where I was bedridden, I couldn't move, I couldn't function, I literally numbed out. And the numbing out was my body's way of saying enough. And it's almost like your central nervous system has gone, enough now, no more. And what happens is your body then shuts down, and your nervous system is saying, just keep her alive. Just keep her alive. So the breathing's still there, and as long as you eat, the body's still functioning, but there's no quality to that life. And So where I came to in 2017 was the last time I went to the doctors, I had the worst palpitations and the anxiety was literally through the roof. The kids had got used to me being sick. Everyone had kind of got used to me being sick. And I sat in my mum's back garden with a cup of tea and I literally felt myself shutting down. I felt my body closing down and I felt really peaceful about it. It was
almost just
like,
to let go. And
it was almost like, right, that's it, I'm done. And my mum went into panic. She phoned Mark and said, can you come and get her? She's not right. And I went to bed and I slept for 2 days solid, straight through. And when I woke up and I realised I wasn't dead, I was like, whew, quite liked that. I quite liked that feeling of calm. But I realised I wasn't dead.
I'm alive.
I'm alive, sister, I'm alive. But it was the gift. That was the gift. That was the day, because I thought, well, this is not the way to live. So that was my turning point. That was my choice. So my choice was I either stay in this existence or I do something about it. And the thought of staying in that place was a million times worse than the fear of the unknown, because there is a level of comfort in accepting and surrendering, like we just talked about with the feminine piece. But no, because what I'd done over those years was literally surrendered and abdicated responsibility for my body, and I'd passed it over to somebody else. And it was up to the doctors to fix me. And I was in complete victim. Why can't the doctor fix me? Seriously? Like now, when I look back and I think, well, wasn't his job to fix me, was it? He didn't break me in the first place. So that was the start of my journey back. And so I started to research why all this was happening to me, why my body was reacting this way. And I started to educate myself on how my body worked. And it's complex, right? Biology, physiology is complex stuff. But that's another of my superpowers, is breaking down the complicated into bite-sized chunks. So taking those bits and making them understandable in a way that was easy to digest and easy to work with. And so the first thing I did was learn about nourishing my cellular health. And I started looking at nutrition, and I started looking at supplementing that nutrition, and I started looking at plant medicine. And plant medicine in the form of essential oils, so natural essential oils. And in the process of 3.5 to 4 months, I replaced all of the opiate pain medication that I'd been taking with natural alternatives. And then I started to feel physically better, but the pain was still there. And then I embarked on the psychological stuff. So all the stuff that I talked about, like age 3, the trauma, all of those things, all of that avalanche of stuff that came into my body in 2006, it was like, right, we'll understand where all that's come from. What is it? Why is it being stored in my body? And again, understanding about energy and how energy moves, and how by holding it in the body, metaphysically, it's going to create a physical response. So as I dealt with the trauma, as I dealt with the psychological blocks, the energy left my body. The negative energy, the traumatic energy left my body, and my body was no longer in pain. And then that led me to, again, frustration. And that's my out of alignment, is feeling frustration and feeling really, really pissed off that the system in inverted commas only supports a medicated response. Yes, of course, there's stuff out there for people that can afford it. But at that time, that wasn't me. We were literally raiding piggy banks to pay the kids' dinner money, because that extra financial stress has an impact on well-being as well, as we'll talk about more. But having that, making this body, understanding that this body is where I live, and the only person that's responsible for it is me. Nobody else. And so as I started to share this information, and sometimes a difficult conversation to have, because people just think you're off your rocker, because society is about treating symptoms and not about proactive health, really. And people are waking up more now, but at the time it was like talking into an echo chamber of doom sometimes. And someone said to me, Jules, you should write a book. And so I did. I wrote a book, and it's called The Fading Woman. And it was actually a poem by a lady called Donna Ashworth.
I love her poems. She's such a great
so
writer.
Powerful, and she just resonates with so many people. And it was about a woman slowly fading away. And in the poem, it says that it basically gave me a kick up the backside to say, well, if you want something different, you can make a change. And so I wrote the book, and then I wrote a program to help other people that were living in a similar way to get well. Mm-hmm. And that brought me to the online world, because we were heading into lockdown as well over those times. So I studied aromatherapy, and I became an aromatherapist, and I studied NLP, and again, as the One Energy, I can't just tickle the surface. I have to go and become qualified in it. So I got qualified in loads of stuff over the first 3 years, because my role in this world is to share my knowledge, my wisdom, because otherwise, why have I gone through all this? There's got to be a reason for it. The purpose is to turn that pain into purpose and to help other people. So I then wanted to learn how to speak properly in an environment.
Because you don't speak properly, why? Because you're half German and half Manc and third Manc, third Congo.
Third Congo, and also token Scouser now as well, because I'm here all the time. But also, so we joined a speaking mastermind, and that's where I met you.
Yeah.
And you spoke about calm and meditation and the nervous system regulation and all that stuff. And I was talking about the ticking time bomb of chronic ill health, which was bigger than any pandemic that we've ever seen.
Yeah.
And if you remember when I spoke, I asked the audience if there was anyone in the room that knew anyone or was someone with a chronic health condition that I'd listed on the screen. Every single hand was up. And that said to me, this is a global pandemic that we just accept as the norm. And so it's a massive purpose. But then for both of us, our purpose is to share that there are alternative ways of living, and there is a different way of embracing life. There's a different way there is choice. Yeah. And I think that with society, in our healthcare system, which for me was a sick care system, there is choice, and there is a choice of ownership, but that needs to have a change of mindset. So that's brought us to here. So we came together, and your space method and my life audit and radical self-care program became now the fantastically clinically proven, the Life Freedom Method, which is helping people recover from physical and mental disability into living a life of passion and purpose and joy, which is why we're really here, aren't we, talking about it. So that's me.
I absolutely love that. So thank you for sharing all of that with me. And there's some bits in that, I mean, we see each other every day, whether it's on Facebook, Messenger, Zoom, or in person, flying off to different places, because this last 12 months has been a bit crazy, hasn't it? But there's some bits in there that I didn't know that you've just educated me on. So thank you for sharing that. I want to just ask you, let's ask you a personal question, like what a question that we always ask our clients when they come to us when they're in pain or they're stressed. What brings you joy? What lights you up?
Oh, what brings me joy? I love, there's no better feeling. Well, there's a few things. No better feeling than seeing your children happy, thriving, laughing, laughter. That literally fills me with gratitude. Because they have their own journeys, right? They've got their own challenges, and they learnt from me and they learnt from society. And the joy of knowing that they have now chosen a different route to the one that I took because I've been able to educate them. That's one thing that brings me joy. The other thing that brings me joy is literally seeing and witnessing the transformation. And transformation is used so much, but it is real transformation and expansion of the people that we work with that literally have gone from being disabled to no longer being disabled. That's powerful and that feels good.
Yeah.
So it just feels great. Joy for me is being free of pain. Yeah. And the first day that I was free of pain all those years ago was a weird experience, but wow, like massively
free.
Oh God, it was almost like liberation. Yeah. I love being on the water. I love sailing. I love having the freedom to be able to work wherever we want to work. I love to be able to be financially free, to be able to share good times with my family and my friends, and share positive well-being and health. So for me, health and well-being is a joy because I can really see what it's like on the other side.
Yeah, and just to reiterate that, because I know there's like 1 in 20 people globally that suffer from fibromyalgia.
Yeah.
It might even be more now. Is it?
Well, that's just fibromyalgia.
Yeah.
Just think of all the like
chronic pain.
1 in 3 of us, I think 1 in 3 or 4 is the official statistic, experience some sort of mental health challenge in any year.
Yeah.
Now, every single one of my family has experienced some sort. So that 1 in 4 is knocked out of the park in my family.
Yeah.
And so that is a chronic condition.
Yeah.
So it affects every single one of us.
Yeah.
So let me flip this back.
Go on.
So let me ask you about what brought you here.
Okay. So what brought me here to Liverpool Podcast Studios on this fine day, and
I want to go right
with my
back.
Beautiful business partner, Jules Kelly. So I'll take you back to Claire. She was known as Claire Ward at the time when she was brought into the world, January 1976, Aquarius. Definitely an Aquarius, and human design, which we'll talk about in other episodes. I am based on my time of birth, where I was born, location. I am a generator. I have always got energy, and I'm slightly crazy, which is what I love.
Which helps.
Helps. And so, I was born then. I brought into the world by my beautiful mum and dad, Eileen and Joe, and lived in Liverpool all of my life. Went to mixed primary school, ended up in a secondary school and it was an all-girls school.
I went to an all-girls school.
Did you?
Yeah.
It was run by nuns, as well as teachers. And when I look back, because obviously I've been in the world of personal development and training for 20 years. And, that was my role in corporate. I was always in learning and development roles. And I've been studying my behaviour and getting to know myself for the last 20 years. And it's only been in the last 3 years that I'm really getting to know who I am and what I'm here for, which is amazing. But when again, because this is what we do, we analyse and we look into ourselves and we're feeling into ourselves a lot more. I had a really happy childhood. It was a very loving family. Nan and granddad were always there. Mum and dad worked, but we were really like a solid unit. I've got a gorgeous sister, Joanne, and school was great. I am still best friends with my friends from primary school and love them to bits. They're like my sisters. And so that was always a really lovely, loving part of life. Then obviously you move into secondary school and you mix with different people from different cultures, from different backgrounds, from different schools. So that was when I started to rebel. I was quite a good kid in primary school because it was a bit more creative. You didn't have to really stick to the curriculum as much, and it was a really good school. And then I got to St. Julie's, which it was a good school at the time. It's a bit like St. Trinian's, is how I like to say, explain it if anyone remembers. If anyone remembers St. Trinian's, I think everyone's a bit too young to remember. But I wasn't naughty, but I didn't want to be in a classroom. I got really bored and I got fed up, and I was always the one that was told to go and stand outside the classroom because I'd start conversations and I'd be talking because I'd get bored. So I was classed as naughty, but not naughty as in, causing trouble or anything like that. I'd just be disruptive. So that was always the case of, oh, you're naughty, there's something wrong with you, you need to do as you're told, you need to be quiet. And I'd be like, I don't want to. So that would come out in frustration and that would come out in arguments. And then it led to me taking days off school and just saying, well, I'm not going to school. Then I'd get home and my mum would be like, where have you been? I'm like, the park, because I don't want to go to school. And so that caused friction. And God love me, mum and dad, they were strict with me, but in a loving way. They were doing it because obviously for the greater good of me and my personal development. Well, for my development as an adult, they thought by restricting me and keeping me in and grounding me, I was grounded all the time. So I used to just take the dog out as an excuse to get out there, to just get out and be free. So the dog hardly had any legs left because I used to take him for a walk that many times just to get out. Dog. Oh, Duke, a little Japanese Akita. So I was restricted in that way. And then straight away, as soon as I could, I left school. It was like 5th year, end of year. I drank loads of lager. I took an LSD trip and finished school and got my shirt signed and did all that lovely hoo-ha. We had a little party in the park and it was like, right, that's it, I'm done. And then a couple of weeks into the summer holidays, my dad come into the bedroom and he threw a wet sponge at me and said, get up and go and find a job. And I was like, Dad, it's still the summer holidays. He went, no, you've left school now. You need to go out. I was only, 15?
Well, you've just given me a thought. What I can do when I get home today.
When you get home to G, if you're still
my
in bed.
manifesto that's not meant to work.
Just throw a sponge at it, gets her out of bed. So I remember thinking, oh my God, that's like, how dare you throw a sponge at me and get me up? He was laughing when he did it. But my dad is a worker. He's a doer. And he's a builder by trade. He's 74 now and he still works. He's just got that energy. And I got up and I was like, okay, well, I'm going to find something what I want to do. And I was always interested in, again, the free spirit in me. Love going on holiday, love traveling, love meeting new people. So I thought I'll be a travel agent because then I'll be able to get myself some free holidays. So I became a travel agent on a YTS. It was £29.50 a week. How did we survive? I used to go out 4 nights a week as well.
So easy then, wasn't it?
Yeah, living with mum and dad, and I still had to give them, I think, £5 a week keep, something like that at the time. You're going back a long time ago. So I got into travel. Then I started going on holiday with friends and enjoying that time away. And then I don't know if you ever had it, but I used to go on holiday and come back and go, oh, I can't wait for the next holiday. I need to get away because this life bores me. So because you're getting onto that life's treadmill. And then I ended up deciding to go and live in Jersey. I thought, okay, let's get away. So at the age of 19, I went to live in Jersey with my friend Lynn. We lasted 6 months there and then came home. And then I went to work in Ibiza. I was like, right, okay, I need to go somewhere else. I tried to get proper jobs. Tried to get proper jobs and I'm like, I'm so bored. So I went to Ibiza, booked a 2-week holiday with some friends and we told me mum and dad, right, I'm going to go and work there. Gave up my job, used the 2-week holiday to get a job in Ibiza, and then I stayed there for like 3 months. Mum and dad came over to see me and said, oh my God, you need to come home. I was like...
like a bean pole.
I was like... I was not eating because I couldn't afford to eat, and all of the money that I was earning was just going towards drink because at the time I was 22. It was very much party girl. My mental health was up the wall, but at the time you didn't really know or talk about mental health or know what that was. Mm-hmm. I didn't feel right. I just wasn't mixing with the right people. So I ended up coming home in the July 1998. I was 23. And it was like, I need to sort my shit out. I need to get a proper job and know what I want to do. So I ended up getting a job in QVC, the shopping channel, and I was there for 15 years. And I absolutely loved it. And I always talk about this when I talk about work. It was a place that I really learned a lot because they were an American company. They were very much into personal development, team development and behavioural development and leadership. So I pretty much grew up in there, got my shit together, decided to go to college, get a HND in business management, then moved into the HR and training department there and got my CIPD. So then I went on to this, I need qualifications for everything I do now. So I went on this big map like you did. Every year there was a new qualification to justify to make me feel better. So because I've got this qualification.
External validation, isn't it?
Yeah.
Again? Need a label.
Needs a label, external validation. And I think when I look at where that's come from, it's over the years, it's just been things like being left out from friend groups, like not being invited to a sleepover, finding out that people have had parties and not being invited to them. So a bit of rejection there. So there's nothing like majorly epic ever happened in my life, like a big trauma. It's all like little traumas, little T's. So yeah, I ended up going on that journey and I fell into an L&D business partner role at the age of 26. And that was when I went, I love this. I love teaching people. I love showing people things, and I love watching people when they learn something new and you can see confidence building in people. It's just lovely, isn't it? Yeah. So that was at the age of 26 and now I'm 47, so 21 years. But within that space, I had kids, Danny and Josh, and obviously met Mark, and I've got Ellie, my stepdaughter, the three of them are great kids. And I ended up climbing up the ladder and being in a busy role. Loved saying people pleaser. Yes, I'd say yes to loads of projects. I'd take too much on and then I'd be overwhelmed, stressed, burnt out. And I got to the age of 40, well, just before 40. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. I was coming home, I was shouting at the kids. I was shouting at Mark. I had no time. And my husband, Mark, said to me, you're a coach. You're supposed to help people find their dreams and you're not doing that. So you're a hypocrite. And I was like, oh my God, absolutely. I am not living what I preach. So long story short, left the corporate world at the age of 40. Funnily enough, it's funny that things happen in that midlife piece when you just find yourself and go, actually, what am I putting up with? Why am I doing all of this? What's the point in it all?
I'm just asking the question. How did I get here?
How did I get here? What's this? Why am I screaming at my kids? When did the kids even happen? When did because you're just on that.
I wanted children.
You're like, you just go through the motions, don't you? On like autopilot, which is, I mean, I love the kids. They're like one of the best thing I've ever created. But it was that realization of, I really thought I knew who I was, and I teach this stuff around self-awareness and emotional intelligence, and Claire, you are nowhere near what you think you are. So I went on a journey and I ended up leaving the corporate world and setting up my own training business. And then again, in that time, it disappeared because of COVID. All my corporate clients, because everyone closed down, it was like, oh shit, what am I going to do now? But it was a blessing because, again, I was getting onto the cycle of travelling up and down the country, burning myself out to get the money in, to be able to live a life, an expensive life that I wanted to live. And it was like, I'm going here again. So COVID, the lockdown period was, I think, like for many, it was tough, but it was also a wake-up call for a lot of us to realise what life is all about. And that's when I moved online, started doing yoga and meditation courses to help people with stress levels, because I'm a yoga and meditation teacher as well. And that's when I met you, because we joined a speaking mastermind to help us tell our story with more passion, because we're absolutely fine with talking, aren't we, as you can tell. But it was that whole structured way of putting a story across, or a point across in a really emotional way. And then we met there 2 years ago and we decided to put our business together as Space and Freedom. And then a few months ago, we decided we really need to get our message out there. What's the best way to do it? It's podcast. And we've called the podcast, Can We Just? Because we're always saying to each other, can we just do this? Can we just do that? Can we just talk about that? So that's where this has come from. And I did, previous to this, I did another podcast with the gorgeous Gemma Ray, honest to God.
She's gorgeous.
She's fab, isn't she? And I met her along the way, and she's the one who taught me how to interview and how to be in podcasts. I haven't done it for ages, still a little bit rough around the edges, but
I like the rough bits.
Yeah, just...
I like the rough bits, Claire. I do. I've got to be honest.
Because no one's perfect, are they? No. So, and that's what we want to bring in this show, that, again, we don't want to edit anything.
It's just real.
We want it to be real. We want it to be, we'd want to be able to have a laugh, which is one of our things. It's about laughter in everything that we do, joy in everything that we do, because otherwise, what's the point? We are very serious in the work that we do, but laughter is a part of that, because laughter can change that state. And it is very much about educating people to live their life on purpose, to get them from pain into purpose. And working with business owners a lot, don't we? So we help stressed out entrepreneurs and people who just want to be able to live their life with space and freedom.
Absolutely. And give them the courage, or support them to have the courage, support, educate, empower, all of those things, and have the courage to make the change, to say, well, hang on a minute, stop. Mm-hmm. This is, whatever I'm doing isn't working. And even if there's an element of life that isn't working, you don't have to burn it all down. Mm-hmm. It's just about putting your hand up and saying, actually, no, life could be a little bit better for me, or it could be a whole lot better. And we speak to so many people, don't we, day in, day out, from all different sides of the spectrum. This summer, we've worked with a lot of women executives, business executives, who, there's a common thread. They're all who we were at a point in time. And they were all very strong, intentional, passionate about what they do, but that every single one of them was wearing a mask. Every single one of them. And what we see is through the mask, and we see that the glue's coming off the edges of the mask and it's slipping. And just to have that interface, that safe space with somebody outside of their life to just be, was priceless, isn't it? And just to let it all out. So,
our first episode.
I know, it went on a bit, didn't it? But it was important for us to put out there who we are, and the fact that we're real, and the fact that there's no edge. We're not trying to be something that we're not. And we want people to know that there is choice in life. And then if anyone wants to follow us on our podcast journey, they can. Do you want to tell us where you can find us?
Yeah, our website is www.spaceandfreedom.com.
And the and is A-N-D.
Yes. And everything is on the website, from Jules's book, my book, to all of the online courses that we do, to any of the work that we do, and also the links to this podcast.
Absolutely. And the free resources.
Our free resources, yes. Okay. So if you enjoyed listening to this podcast, please like and subscribe on all channels. And I want to say personally, thank you. And it's love and light from me.
And ta-ra from me.